Okay, so these are just random questions that the students asked me about. So this is question 9. So work out length x. So we've got this right angled triangle. Now we're not looking for an angle and we don't have an angle. So this means that we must use Pythagoras. So Pythagoras, you should know a squared plus b squared equals c squared. And remember, c is always the hypotenuse, and these two lines here, it doesn't matter which one's a, which one's b, so we call this one a, for example, and this one b. Now we want to find a, this length here. So what we've got to do is, we know b and we know c, so we need to get these together. So a squared will equal c squared minus b squared. Okay, so now we can put in values. So a we don't know, a squared we don't know, so this equals b squared, so this would be 7 squared, sorry. Okay, I'm doing this in a hurry, so more haste, less speed is what I'm used to saying. So c squared, which is 15 squared, minus b squared, which is 7 squared. Okay, so a squared is going to equal, now 15 squared is 225, minus 7 squared, which is 49. So a squared will equal 175, so I believe that's 176. So a will equal the root of 176. If I go to my calculator, put that on, so let's just make sure 225 minus 49 is 176, so the square root 176 is 13.266. So we get here, I can write here 13.266. Okay, so it just says work out length x, it doesn't say give any degree of accuracy, so I would just write in 13.266, and this would be centimetres. And if you look at the triangle, if this says is 7 and this is 15, we know this is longer, so this is 13. This would make sense because it's got to be shorter than this. So remember, we're not looking for an angle, we're not given an angle, so consequently we use Pythagoras. Okay, so that's question 9. So I'll pause and I'll go on to the next question. Okay, so 13c, simplify fully. So if we simplify a fraction, it just means that we've got to be able to cancel. Now we have 8 times x minus 3 all squared over 4 times x minus 3 x plus 3. Okay, so I'm just going to open this out a little bit. So I'm going to have 8 multiplied by, now anything squared is itself by itself, so x minus 3 all squared would be x minus 3 multiplied by x minus 3, and then here we have 4 multiplied by x minus 3 x plus 3. Okay, so this is what we've got up here. They've just squared this to make you think a little bit more. So it's this times this times this over this times this times this. Now because everything's being multiplied, this and this can cancel. It really is as simple as that, because x minus 3 and x minus 3 are common. Now 4 goes into 4 once and 4 goes into 8 twice. So this leaves me 2 lots of x minus 3. So I'd have 2x minus 3 all over x plus 3. And if you want, you can leave it in brackets, that's okay. But we can't do anything more with that. We could expand the brackets, I suppose. So we would get 2x minus 6 over x plus 3, but we can't cancel it any more than that. So the examiners, I think, would be quite happy with that. Okay, so what looks potentially horrible really isn't, and that's shown up by this 2 mark here. Okay, so I'll pause and go on to the next one. Okay, so 15b, another nice little question. So we have this fraction equals 2 minus w. Now, 2 things we don't like particularly in algebra are brackets. We like to get rid of them if we can, and fractions. And this 4 here is dividing this 2w minus 1. So if I bring it over here, it's going to multiply. So we'll have 2w minus 1 equals, and remember now that the 4 is going to multiply everything over here. So we can simplify this. So 2w minus 1 equals 8 minus 4w. Now my biggest value of w, the unknown, is here, but it's negative, but I want to make it positive. So this is going to come over here to make it positive. So consequently all my w's are going to be here, so all my numbers are going to go the other way, realising of course that the signs change. So 2w plus 4w equals 8 plus 1. So now it's just a question of simplifying. So 6w equals 9, and I know 6 goes into 9 1.5 times, or 1.5. It really is that simple. Okay, it really is that simple. So if we get a fraction here, and it's not accompanied by a plus 3 or something like that, but we've just got a fraction here, bring this across and multiply. Okay, and then the next question. Okay, the final question. Solve the simultaneous equations. So we've got our 2 equations here. Now this is a linear equation. This is quadratic because we have x squared here. Excuse me. Give your answer to 2 decimal places. Now if I know that y equals this, okay, so y equals this and y equals this, then this must equal this. So 2x squared plus 3x minus 1 will equal x plus 4, because they're saying that y equals that and y equals that. Now because I've got a quadratic here, all quadratics equal 0. So this is going to have to equal 0. So this x plus 4 is going to have to come over to the other side, and the signs will change. So we'll have 2x squared plus 3x minus 1 minus x minus 4. Okay, so we simplify that, so we have 2x squared. Now we have 3x, take away x, so this will be plus 2x. Minus 1 minus 4 will give us minus 5, and this will equal 0. Okay, so there's a couple of ways we could approach this. We could complete the square and solve this, but we've got a coefficient greater than 1. I could divide all the way through by 2, but then we would get into fractions, and I don't really want to do that. So I would use the quadratic formula. So for the quadratic formula, remember, this equals A, this equals B, and this equals C. Okay, now the quadratic formula states that x equals minus b plus or minus the root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Okay, so now what we've got to do is substitute in these values. So x will equal, now b we can see here is 2, but it says minus b, so this is minus 2 plus or minus the root of, now b squared, now if b is 2, b squared would be 4 minus, now I always open up a bracket here, 4 multiplied by a, now a is 2, multiplied by c, and c is minus 5, and this is all over 2a. Now a we know is 2, so 2a would be 4. So I can now say that x equals minus 2 plus or minus the root of 4 minus, now 4 2's are 8, and 8 multiplied by minus 5 will be minus 40. I'll just check this, 2 minus 10 is 40, yeah. And we have two minuses, so this can be changed to a plus. And this is all over 4. So now we have x equals minus 2 plus or minus the root of, now 4 plus 40 is 44 all over 4. Okay, so I'm hoping you followed it this far. Okay, now it does say give your answer to 2 decimal places. So obviously we don't know the root of 44, so we're going to have two answers here because it's plus or minus the root of 44. So we can write therefore and therefore. Okay, x will equal, because we'll have two answers. So we'll have minus 2, minus 2. Now I'm going to add this time whatever the root is of 44. So the root of 44 is 6.633. So we have 6.633, and this is all being divided by 4. Okay, that's the calculator paper, so we can now put in minus 2 plus 6.633 equals, and this is going to be divided by 4, which gives me 1.158. Okay. Okay, so that's one answer. Now here we have minus 2 minus 6.633. Okay, because that's still the root of 44. So again, we push this into our calculator, so we have minus 2 minus 6.633 equals, and we're going to divide this by 4, and that gives us minus 2.158. What are the chances of that? So, if I remember rightly, the question says give your answer to 2 decimal places. So there's my first decimal place, there's my second. So I have to take this into account. Now the 8 I would round up, so this would become 6. So I could write 1.16, or, and again here, this would round up to 6. So I would have minus 2.16. Okay. So 6 marks. So you can see why it's 6 marks. Okay. The actual quadratic itself isn't that difficult. But these are the x values. X equals this and x equals this. So now we have to have what y equals and what y equals. So I now go back to this equation here, okay, because it's the easiest equation to put a value in. So where x is 1.16, so this would be 1.16, y would equal 1.16 plus 4, so that would be 5.16. 5.16. Okay. Well, we have to work out our value, so y equals x plus 4. So here we're going to have minus 2.16 plus 4, okay, which I think will give us 1.84, I believe. Anyway, so 6 marks there. So first off, you need to understand that if y equals something and y equals something, then those two somethings equal one another. Inevitably it's going to be a quadratic equation, and to solve it, if it's on a calculator paper, then I would suggest you use the quadratic formula because it's a lot easier. Okay. Once you've done that, you find out your x values, but don't forget to go back and find your y values. Okay. Hope that's helped. Just keep practicing and you'll be fine.